Why don't you talk about churches back home? You know, I've had this vision every time I go out with the troops that it'd be neat if every church in the country reached out around them in their community to see who's serving or who has served and see how they could help. I mean, my understanding of being a Christian is you witness, you help people.
Right.
How does that fit into what you see from your perspective? I mean, helping the troops here, but also families back home.
Well, the Army is set up in a way through chaplains and through other resources to actually not just help the soldier, but make sure to maintain that family unit. And so we focus a lot on that, and there's a lot of time spent trying to understand that. As far as the way churches fit in back home, even here, before I left, actually, I set up a network of people who I keep in contact with. So when I come across a soldier and I get their permission, if they're willing to do it, I will send their name. They'll send whatever is necessary, what is needed, you know, just to kind of encourage. Maybe it's letters, could be toothpaste, socks, whatever. And so in addition to all the other things that we do, we have individual soldiers being supported by these church families back home.
Back home. Good.
So really, from what I've experienced, churches are very involved, and that's where probably a lot of our support is coming from. Even in these packages that Chaplain Madej is talking about, a lot of our support is tied into churches back in the States.
Okay. Would you like to add to that, please?
Just a couple things. Last year, prior to Christmas, we sent out a list to all the chaplains to send us the names of soldiers who have no families. So that was about 400 soldiers who, for some reason in life, their parents could be deceased, soldiers may be adopted, whatever the case, that there wasn't a connection with the family. And I was nervous because it was getting very close to Christmas. We just got the list, got on email and sent the list out, and miraculously, all those soldiers got at least one box of Christmas gifts and supplies, if not more than one. So people respond when they know the need is there. One of the things that churches used to send, it's not so popular anymore, but these phone cards. I don't use them. I'm not that technologically savvy to punch in the numbers after I scratch off the card. But we have some soldiers who really, to call home, it is an effort for them, because even though they make money out here, they don't have access often to it in the mountains. Once a month, the bank goes out and will give them some cash, and until that happens, they really don't have access to something as simple as a phone card or toothpaste or the like. So the churches have been incredible individuals who have been in the military and remember what it's like. They will send a note saying, what do you really need? You know, all the boxes take care of the large numbers of troops, but what do you really need? The one regret I have is last year, several churches wrote and said, okay, we want to send something to your chaplains. And I said, no, don't do that. They're good. The chaplains have what they need. I probably should have said, okay, this is this chaplain, that chaplain, etc. But if you were to go in that room, the resiliency room that Tim just mentioned, there are times that there are 50 boxes that come in one day. And to empty those boxes even here for our folks in the military, for every military man or woman, there is one civilian to support those efforts. So let's just say, if there were a couple thousand military here, then there would be a couple thousand civilians. And we make sure that the civilians are taken care of as well. They may be a mom or a dad. We have a lady here who 19 years ago, her husband, a military man, died, and about 18 months ago her son was killed in Iraq. She's an employee through AFIS, and she's actually the manager of our store, and even amidst all that pain, she has decided to continue on the mission. So we support them. Tim is the pastor of the FOB, if you will. So if you don't fall into a unit, the folks who come and work the bank, the folks who are in small companies that come to support the larger mission, they fall under us, and they don't have their specific chaplain. So they all fall to Tim. And it's Tim's job to make sure that briefs, simple briefs, suicide prevention and all the family issues, everything from anger management and how to take care of yourself when it's 130 degrees in a month from now. Tim has to make sure that everyone is tracking, to make sure that we're all trained constantly and that we're not losing our focus. Even though people are looking a little tired, even Tim is looking a little tired, and myself as well after 11 months. How do you remain focused so that when we get home, we can hopefully feel the support of family and friends and the church community to pray for us at that point? Because right before war and after war, immediately before and immediately after, so many difficult things happen in families. And the government is good to give us large funding for retreats for single soldiers and for married soldiers. And so as we begin those in about a month or two from now, we really do need the strong prayerful support of the church community back home.
I was going to ask you about prayer, and because I know my son-in-law, every time he's been deployed, he's been on church list, and I know a lot of churches, they have certain soldiers they pray for. Can you talk about the power of prayer?
Oh, it's incredible. Some folks come out here and they are leaving issues behind, and they find that through prayer and a little time away, that sometimes some healing can happen, more so than if they try to work at it. Other people need the grace of God to give them the strength to work at it when they get home, to ensure that they're engaging in situations to strengthen marriages, to strengthen relationships with their kids and their friends and themselves. We always need to pray that soldiers do the right things. Because you go home and sometimes the support groups back home are negative support groups. And we have to make sure that the soldiers are trained enough to at least know the difference. Secondly, have the courage and the resiliency to make the right choice. And then to be able to sit back and say, you know what, there is a great value that comes in serving God and country, and it's not a mistake.
Your service Sunday, you talked about what you're going to be focusing on this coming Sunday, with a lot of soldiers leaving and some coming in. Could you just kind of cover the theme? Because it actually touched me. I mean, I think it has application for all of us.
Throughout history, warriors have been pretty stellar individuals, but warriors are pretty average individuals as well. But throughout history, they have embraced the desert or the mountain, and they have remained focused. They've remained so focused that at the end of their time in war, they take home some of the pain of war. And so this Sunday we'll have a ritual cleansing celebration after reconciliation to encourage them to once and for all look at all those things that have caused them pain through war and suffering, and to leave it here, so that when they go home they are free to not be traumatized, but to experience some of that post-traumatic growth that we're talking about now, where the majority of people come to war, they grow a little, they appreciate what really we have back home, they come to know God much more strongly in their lives, and to appreciate the people around them a lot more. When you're at war, you're very focused. You know if somebody's walking to your left or to your right, you hear things very clearly, even amidst of all the explosions or aircraft landing and taking off. A lot of Americans don't have that. You can drive right up to them and they just are in their own world of thought, and they don't even see what's next to them. And so when you're like that in war, you start to also think in terms of, how can I be better? What's a part of my life? What are the pains of my life? And the communities of faith will simply pause and reflect, forgive ourselves and each other for times of a lack of patience perhaps, or a lack of understanding, so that when we go home, we're ready to see family and friends.
Great. Would you like to add to that? Reporting from here in Afghanistan, I am Bob Calvert, your host at TalkingWithHeroes.com.